What's the best microphone for a podcast? You know, so many people will sit down and start recording their podcast, but they really don't realize that the microphone can pick up your voice in many different ways. Certain microphones are built differently than other microphones. That can work to your advantage, or that can really mess you up. But we're going to go over those basics real quickly here. This is important stuff to know because when it comes to picking a microphone, first of all, you're going to need to know what the pickup pattern is, what kind of microphones there are, and they give you different sounds, and are you going to need a little extra equipment to go with some of them, or can you just plug them right in? Well, let's get started. I've been recording audio and editing audio for 25, almost 30 years now. Anything from museum tours to radio commercials, been doing tons of them over the decades. Now, this whole explosion of getting businesses either in podcasting or on YouTube videos has been an amazing opportunity for businesses right now. There are some things you need to be aware of. If you're going to put your business on a podcast, which I think is a brilliant idea, there are going to be some things that you need to know about the microphones you're choosing, and especially the applications that you're going to be using them in. First, let's talk about the microphones themselves. There are times when you can use studio mics or USB mics. Now, what are those? Studio mics, I'm sure you've seen all the time. They have the cable coming out of the end of it, and then they end up going to, say, some kind of a mixing board or something like that. That would be a studio microphone. A USB mic, kind of like the name implies, and now that you know what we're talking about, it's the cable that runs directly into your computer, or maybe some type of a microphone interface. A microphone interface will probably take a studio mic, and then you've got the USBs that will go directly into your computer. Now, back in the day, when podcasting was first kind of scratching its way through the idea mode, there were just a handful of USB mics out there. And the biggest problem with them was some type of an internal buzz. And now some people attribute it to the microphone, some people attributed it to the cooling fan on the computer hard drive. They really couldn't narrow it down. They really couldn't figure it out at first. But then all of a sudden, these microphones started coming out. And I remember there was one, an Audio-Technica, that got all the rave reviews because it didn't have that buzz to it. Now, it wasn't an annoying buzz. It wasn't something that like took over the entire audio, but it was there. And if you've trained your ear and if you've processed enough audio like I have, boy, it sounded like fingernails down a blackboard. To the average listener, though, they probably didn't catch it unless they listened a lot. And especially if they listened to a bunch of podcasts that were constantly recorded with USB microphones. Again, this was a whole new technology at this time, and so most of them were done with studio mics and not so much USB. Now, the coolest thing is, mics have come a long way, especially USB microphones. And there are a lot of great mics out there at very affordable entry-level prices, and there's no buzz to them. Chances are you're gonna find a great mic, unless you find a used one, say on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. Maybe it's one of the old ones. Please don't buy something like that. There are too many good, inexpensive microphones out there today that don't have that buzz, and you'll do just fine. Another thing to keep in mind are condenser microphones versus dynamic microphones. Now, those are just fancy terms to say you plug this one in, this one you don't. Dynamic microphones literally work off of the sound pressure, the air movement that's basically coming out of your mouth or whatever you're recording with that microphone. You've got a little diaphragm that just bounces very gently inside a magnetized ring, and that's what changes it from sound to electrical impulses, all right? So now you've got it going into your soundboard and everything's now being recorded. A condenser microphone pretty much does the same thing, but that magnet is electrified. It takes an external power source, typically 48 volts. And that 48 volts, industry-wide standard, is pretty much referred to, the nickname is phantom power. And it just uses the cable from the microphone itself to carry that power up to the microphone. If you've got a USB mic, it's very easy to do the phantom power because it's coming from your computer. If it's a studio mic, do you remember the studio mic earlier? Not a USB mic, but it gets plugged into other equipment. Chances are the studio mic, there will be a power supply in the mixing board. And you just flip that switch on, you'll see it say plus 48V. there's your phantom power, and it goes right to the microphone that needs it. You're good to go. I personally use a dynamic mic because I use a dynamic mic for a lot more of my voiceover applications. In fact, we'll talk about some specific microphones here in just a minute, but mine's a dynamic microphone just because I use it for a whole bunch of other applications. Voiceovers, commercial voiceovers, museum tours, that kind of thing. Different feel to it, different warmth to it, and a different presence when it's right in somebody's ear. Now, a condenser microphone gives you a much crisper, clearer sound, and perfect for podcasting too, by the way. So this is what we cover here on this channel, stuff like microphones and cameras. And if your business is interested in YouTube or doing a podcast or something like that, I hope you make this your home base. Be sure to like and subscribe and don't miss another episode, because this is the stuff you're going to need to get up and running quickly, efficiently, and hopefully inexpensively. Now, something else you need to know about microphones is how they listen or how they hear, and that is called their pickup pattern. In fact, I just had this situation the other day. A friend of mine was trying to record several people on a podcast, and when person one was talking, you could hear them through person two's microphone, and vice versa. That is a classic example of the pickup pattern being way too broad. For example, in that situation, you had a microphone with an omnidirectional pickup pattern. Yes, omni. Everywhere, multiple directions, 365 in a sphere. That's the type of pickup pattern that this microphone had. So if somebody's sitting here with the microphone, this microphone was also picking it up in this direction. So when that person was talking, it also came through this microphone backwards. That's an omnidirectional microphone. If you're by yourself in a room, and it's a very well-treated room, you might be able to get away. By treated, I mean sound treatment. You see all the foam on the walls and stuff like that. You've seen pictures of rooms like that for recording studios. If that type of room is really well padded and treated, you might be able to get away with an omnidirectional microphone because your own reflection is not going to come in the back of the mic. But the room's got to be treated. Personally, I think you want to stay away from omnidirectional mics. The next most common one is a pickup pattern called a cardioid. Cardioid. Cardio, like a heart. In fact, it's a heart-shaped pickup pattern. And now think of it as an upside-down heart shape, okay? So if you're going to be like this, the microphone is here, I'm talking in this end of it, but notice all the rejection that's coming out of the back. You've got this huge area up front that's being listened to, but very little is coming in the back. So for, like I was talking about my friend not too long ago, with the two people overlapping microphones, there's where you really need a cardioid microphone. Any rejection out the back, so when person two is speaking, they're facing the back of microphone one. Did you follow me? They're speaking into the back of microphone one, but microphone one's not listening to them. Since microphone one is pointed to me, it'll only hear me. That helps, especially in that situation. Whenever you've got a panel discussion or something like that, getting multiple microphones out there that could end up with a whole bunch of overlap and chatter, you want a very tight pickup pattern per microphone. So let's go over a couple specific microphones that you might want to look at. Number one, this is the one I have in my studio for all my voiceover work. It's an Electro Voice RE20. If you just Google RE-20, chances are you're going to get it. You've probably seen it. It is typically a gray microphone, very long. It's got a little bit of a slightly larger head than the rest of it. But probably the most famous example would be Rush Limbaugh had a gold-plated one. That's an RE20. That is a dynamic microphone. It is one of the ones that does not take external power. It doesn't need the 48 volts or the phantom power. It is a dynamic microphone. Another great microphone to consider is a Shure, S-H-U-R-E, Shure SM7B. An SM7B, or the USB version, an MV7. You can get an XLR or a USB version of the XM7. The XLR one is the typical microphone plug. It's the silver, and then it's got the three little tiny prongs inside the silver. That's an XLR plug. That's a microphone cable. The SM7B and the RE20, the first one that I talked about, those are probably the two most popular studio microphones across radio stations, across podcasting stations, you name it. You really can't go wrong with those two. Now, if you've got a little bit more of a portable rig where you want to just plug them directly into your laptop or into your computer that you're taking with you, then you're going to want some USB microphones. One of the more popular ones is the Audio-Technica or AT2040 USB. Again, USB microphone plugs directly into your computer. The other one is the Rode NT USB. They even put USB in the name of it. Rode microphone and the Audio-Technica. In fact, it was the Audio-Technica way back when. That was the one microphone that didn't have the buzz to it when they first started doing USB mics. But now they've all caught up, and you've got a whole bunch of really good ones. And over and over and over again, you'll hear people talking about the Yeti Blue. The Blue microphone, Yeti, that's another very popular microphone. Great introductory price point, very easy to get into, very easy entry point. Great microphone for podcasting. So now that you know a little bit about microphones, you know what you're looking for. In fact, you'll see like pickup patterns will be on the box or in the specs or something like that. So you know what you're looking for now. Not omnidirectional, definitely cardioid or tighter. So go with any one of those. Maybe a condenser mic over a dynamic, but there are certain dynamics that just are great. The RE20 and the SM7B. And to go with all this audio knowledge, you now need to be able to edit everything. Well, I've got a free download for you. If you just click below in the description, there's a link to my free audio editing software guide. Not only is the guide free, but all these are free software, whether you've got Mac or PC. It's free audio software, free audio editing software, and it's a free guide. So get your copy by clicking the link in the description. I'm Nick Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.